The lace of my wedding gown felt softer than I'd imagined, like clouds stitched with silk. Sunlight streamed through the tall glass windows of the bridal suite, painting golden stripes across the ivory fabric. Everything looked perfect. Almost too perfect. I stood before the mirror, trying to see myself as a bride, not the woman who'd spent years piecing herself back together. My phone buzzed on the vanity, lighting up with a new message from Daniel, my soon-to-be husband. "Check the updated guest list, baby. Final version's ready." I smiled faintly, touched by his excitement, and opened the document. A habit more than necessity. I'd already approved everyone. Or so I thought. Then my heart stopped. There it was. Her name. Olivia Carter. My sister. The same sister who tore my world apart 7 years ago. The same one I swore I'd never see again. Not at holidays, not at funerals, and definitely not at my wedding. The phone trembled in my hand. For a moment, the world seemed to tilt. Laughter from the bridesmaids faded. The champagne bubbles went still. I could hear only my own heartbeat, heavy and disbelieving. Daniel didn't know. He couldn't. I never told him everything. But now it didn't matter. She was coming. And suddenly, my perfect wedding day became the stage for a reckoning I never wanted, but maybe one I needed. 7 years ago, I left my hometown with nothing but a suitcase and a heart that felt like shattered glass. Back then, I was 22, naive enough to believe that blood meant loyalty, that family couldn't betray you. Olivia proved me wrong. She was everything I wasn't: confident, magnetic, the kind of woman who could make a room orbit around her. When I got my first job as a junior designer at Parker & Company, she was the first person I told. I remember her tight hug, her whispered, "I'm proud of you, Em." I believed her. God, I believed her. What I didn't know was that she'd already been meeting with my boyfriend, Mark, the same man who used to wait outside my office every Friday with takeout and flowers. I found out the day before my promotion interview. One careless text from him popped up on my phone while he showered. "I can't wait to see you tonight, Liv." I still remember how my knees gave out, how the sound of my heart breaking filled the silence of our tiny apartment. The next morning, she walked into the kitchen like nothing happened. When I confronted her, she didn't even deny it. She just smiled, that infuriating half-smirk, and said, "You were never built for him, Em. Or for that job." I lost both that day, him, and the promotion that should have been mine. Olivia took it all. She charmed my boss, moved into my old position, and painted me as unstable when I tried to defend myself. The humiliation was unbearable. I left town the next week, clutching my grandmother's locket, a small silver heart engraved with "Rise Again." She'd given it to me on my 18th birthday, saying, "When the world forgets your worth, remember it yourself." That locket became my anchor when I had nothing else. I didn't attend family gatherings after that. I changed my number, started over in Chicago, and promised myself I'd never look back. Until now, standing in a bridal suite with her name staring back at me. Olivia Carter, the woman who destroyed my life, and the sister who would soon walk into my wedding, uninvited, yet impossible to ignore. Chicago didn't welcome me kindly at first. I arrived with 2 suitcases, $300, and the kind of exhaustion that seeps into your bones. The city felt too big, too bright, a constant reminder that no one cared whether I made it or not. But somewhere inside me, a quiet defiance flickered. I refused to let Olivia's version of me be the truth. I rented a tiny studio above a bakery and took a job as a receptionist at a design firm, far below my skill level, but it paid the bills. At night, I sketched. Dozens of designs, logos, layouts, packaging, whatever my imagination offered. My grandmother's locket rested on my desk lamp, catching the city lights, whispering her words back to me. "Rise again." It took nearly 2 years before anyone noticed. Her name was Monica Hayes, the firm's senior art director, a sharp, elegant woman with salt and pepper hair and the kind of presence that silences a room. One night, she caught me redrawing a client logo after hours. I thought she'd fire me. Instead, she smiled. "You've got an eye for rhythm," she said. And guts for staying this late. Ever thought about freelancing? That moment changed everything. Under Monica's mentorship, I built my portfolio from scratch. She taught me how to pitch, how to price my worth, and how not to apologize for ambition. By the time I turned 26, I had my own clients. By 28, I registered my own brand, M. Carter Design Studio, tucked inside a downtown loft with brick walls and sunlight that made the whole space glow. The work was grueling, 12-hour days, endless revisions, constant rejection. But with every success, I felt a piece of my confidence return. My first big client was a luxury skincare line. When their products launched, my designs were splashed across billboards. I stood across the street one evening, coffee in hand, staring at my name in the corner of the ad. Designed by M. Carter. I didn't cry. I just smiled. Quietly. Proudly. My family had no idea. I posted modest updates, working in design, keeping busy. I didn't want their pity or their praise. I wanted peace. Then, one summer night at a charity gala, I met Daniel Pierce. Warm smile, easy laugh, the kind of man who looked you in the eyes when you spoke. He admired my independence, not intimidated by it. We talked about art, travel, and bad takeout pizza. By the end of the night, he made me laugh for the first time in years. He didn't ask about my past, and I didn't volunteer it. Some stories, I told myself, are better left in the dark. Until his proposal, the candlelit dinner, the trembling hands, the ring that caught the light just like my grandmother's locket. I thought I'd finally escaped the shadows of Olivia's betrayal. But now, as her name sits on my guest list, I realize I only built my castle higher. She just found a way to climb the walls. The morning of the rehearsal dinner, the air outside the hotel smelled like rain and roses, soft, clean, deceptive. My hair was pinned in loose curls, my makeup subtle. From the outside, I looked like a woman who had it all together. Inside, my pulse drummed like thunder. Daniel had no idea why I'd gone quiet since the guest list text. I told him it was wedding nerves. He smiled, kissed my forehead, and went to greet his parents. I envied his calmness, his innocence in all this. The ballroom shimmered in candlelight that evening. Gold tablecloths, crystal flutes, white roses, a picture of perfection. Until the doors opened. And she walked in. Olivia. My sister. She was still stunning, tall, polished, her smile rehearsed and sharp. Her hair was lighter now, her dress emerald green, the exact shade she knew made her eyes impossible to ignore. Her gaze found mine instantly. A small, knowing smirk curled on her lips. She said softly, like a secret. It's been too long. I didn't answer. My throat locked around years of silence. Daniel, bless him, looked between us confused. Wait, you two know each other? The room stilled. Every face turned toward us. Olivia let out a laugh, light, airy, poisonous. Oh, we're family, she said, laying a hand on his arm. Didn't Emily tell you? I'm her sister. The word sister tasted like rust in my mouth. Daniel blinked. You never mentioned. I had my reasons. I cut in, my voice steady though my chest burned. Some wounds aren't meant to be discussed over dinner. Olivia tilted her head. Oh, come on, Em. It's been years. Don't tell me you're still holding a grudge. The laugh that left me wasn't pretty. A grudge? I stepped closer. You slept with my boyfriend, stole my promotion, and told everyone I was unstable. You didn't just ruin my reputation, Olivia. You burned down my life. A ripple of whispers spread through the guests. Daniel's face drained of color. Olivia's smile faltered. Just a flicker, but I saw it. I was young, she said quietly. We both were. I made mistakes. No, I replied, voice calm now, almost serene. You made choices. I turned to Daniel then, my hands trembling only slightly. I didn't tell you because I wanted a future not built on pity. I wanted you to love me for who I became, not who I had to survive. He looked at me, confusion, shock, and something else, awe. And then, with the entire room watching, I did what I'd never imagined doing. I reached into my clutch, pulled out my phone, and connected it to the ballroom screen. A slideshow began, photos of my design studio, my team, my work displayed across city billboards, global campaigns. Then, the final slide, Emily Carter, founder and creative director, M. Carter Design Studio. Gasps filled the room. Daniel turned toward me, speechless. I built this, I said, my voice firm but warm. Every inch of my success came from the ashes you left behind, Olivia. You tried to erase me, but I became someone even you couldn't imagine. Olivia's eyes glistened, though she blinked it away fast. So, this is revenge, she whispered. I smiled softly.
No.
This is truth. The silence that followed was heavy, cleansing. Daniel reached for my hand, his eyes full of something that looked like pride. For the first time in years, I felt taller, lighter, unburdened. I had spent so long running from my past, but tonight I stood face to face with it, and won. After the dinner ended, the ballroom slowly emptied, leaving only the echo of polite whispers and the faint scent of roses. Daniel excused himself to speak with his parents, but I could feel his eyes on me. Protective, proud, uncertain. Olivia lingered near the exit, her emerald dress catching the light as if begging for forgiveness it couldn't earn. I took a deep breath and walked toward her. My heels clicked against the marble floor, each step measured, steady. She turned before I spoke. You really blindsided me back there, she said softly. In front of everyone. I studied her face, still beautiful, still hiding behind charm. You blindsided me 7 years ago, I said. Consider us even. Her lips parted like she might argue, but she didn't. Instead, she crossed her arms. What do you want from me, Em? An apology?
Fine. I'm sorry.
I was stupid, jealous. You had everything and I held up a hand. Stop. I don't want your apology. She blinked. Then what? I want you to do better. My voice softened, but the steel beneath it stayed. You can't fix the past, Olivia, but you can stop repeating it. You thrive on taking from people attention, affection, opportunities. If you want forgiveness, earn it by giving something back for once. She looked down, her hands fidgeting with her clutch. I don't know how, she admitted quietly. I reached into my purse and pulled out a folded card. This is the contact for a nonprofit I fund, the Haven Project. We mentor young women trying to rebuild after betrayal or loss. They need someone who understands both sides of the story. You could volunteer there, if you mean what you say. Her eyes lifted to mine, wet but sincere. You'd really trust me with that? I'd trust you to try, I said simply. And if you don't, that's on you. She nodded slowly, clutching the card like it was fragile. For once, she looked small, human. Then I felt Daniel's hand on my back. You okay? He asked gently. I turned to him, searching his face for doubt. But he smiled, steady, unwavering. I didn't know the full story, he said. But now I do. And I love you even more for surviving it. Tears stung my eyes. You still want to marry me? I half joked. He leaned closer. More than ever. I exhaled a long, trembling breath. For the first time in years, my heart felt quiet, not empty, not bitter, just at peace. I glanced back at Olivia. We'll see each other tomorrow, I said. At the wedding, as guests, not ghosts. She gave a faint nod, voice barely above a whisper. I'll be there, Em. I'll behave. As she walked away, I touched the locket around my neck, my grandmother's words echoing softly. Rise again. And maybe, finally I had. The next day dawned calm and golden, the kind of morning that felt like forgiveness. The storm that had hung over me for years had finally passed. As I stood before the mirror in my wedding gown, the same sunlight from yesterday poured in through the window, only now it felt softer, warmer. I traced the edge of my grandmother's locket, resting just above my heart. It had carried me through every heartbreak, every night I doubted I'd ever be enough. A gentle knock came at the door. Daniel peeked in, breaking the tradition just a little. You ready? He asked with that crooked smile that always made me melt. I smiled back. More than ever. The ceremony was small, intimate, beautiful. When I walked down the aisle, I saw Olivia sitting quietly in the second row. Her eyes were red, not from anger, but something closer to remorse. For a brief moment, she mouthed, "Thank you." And for the first time in a long while, I smiled at her. Not out of reconciliation, but understanding. We were no longer enemies. We were two women finally letting go of what broke us. After the vows, laughter replaced tension, music replaced silence, and I felt weight lift off my shoulders I hadn't even realized I was still carrying. Later that evening, Daniel and I slipped outside onto the terrace overlooking the city. The sky was streaked with orange and lavender, and the air smelled of roses and rain again. "You did something incredible today," Daniel said quietly. "You faced your past and turned it into strength." I looked out over the skyline, the locket warm against my skin. "She took everything from me once," I said softly. "But maybe she also gave me something, the fire to rebuild myself." Daniel wrapped his arm around me, pulling me close. "And look what you built." I rested my head against his shoulder, feeling peace settle deep in my chest. The girl who once ran from her pain had become a woman who could face it and still choose love. As the city lights began to glow beneath us, I whispered the words engraved inside that silver heart one last time. "Rise again." Because I had. And this time, I wasn't rising to prove anything, only to live freely, fully, and finally on my own terms. Bottom of form.